So, hey, I know you got your professional wrestling start in 2013, and well deservedly from what I've seen of you, have risen really quickly. Is there something that you would put a finger on that has helped you more than anything, or someone that's helped you more than anything besides maybe the obvious, the school you went to, as far as your success goes in the business and how you've learned and improved so quickly?
It's hard to say that there's one specific thing. It's
Yeah.
definitely a multitude of reasons. I mean, like you said, first and foremost is the school. I go to the New England Pro Wrestling Academy, and I train under, originally Warbeard Hansen was a trainer there, but now I train under a guy named Brian Fury, who is, in my opinion, probably the most underrated trainer in the world. Just a guy who has a wealth of knowledge. And I've trained with most reputable trainers in schools, and Brian Fury is one of the best, if not the best. It's hard to say, but and especially if you just look at his body of work. I mean, he's the original trainer of Biff Busick, who was just signed to NXT, Sasha Banks, who a lot of people consider as the best women's wrestler in the world. So and he's only been training for like 5 or 6 years. So to have that resume at that short amount of time is really saying something. That being said, I'd say some of the other big factors are coming from the New England area. It's just there's a real prestige around professional wrestling here. Maybe prestige isn't the word, but like a pedigree, I guess. Like just the amount of capable guys who come from this area, the amount of schools that are capable of training the right way. The fact that Kowalski's was here, that Steve Bradley trained here originally, that Spike Dudley started a school here. Really reputable sort of schools sort of stake their claim in New England. Now we're starting to see the branching off of all of that, all of those original schools that had so much success. So that's part of it. The fact that there's so many indies around here, so there's never a lack of work, especially for a young green guy coming up through the business. That helped out a lot. The fact that this area has 3 or 4 like really top end sort of promotions, one of which is directly connected with my my training facility, and it's called Chaotic Wrestling. Again, a promotion that put out all sorts of top guys, like guys who worked at Chaotic are Kofi Kingston, Damian Sandow. Both those guys trained in the Chaotic system. John Cena worked at Chaotic Wrestling. So there's all sorts of guys who stake their claim in Chaotic. So I right from the beginning, I got to work for them. And now we have companies like Beyond Wrestling, which has a national presence. XWA, Northeast Wrestling are all companies that I get to work for locally that they bring in guys who are really good, So I'm capable of wrestling high quality talent even from an early stage in my career. And that being said, when I wasn't working for those companies, I was working for smaller companies. So really, from the beginning, it was also a sort of thing where it was kind of a baptism by fire type deal, because there's so many companies in New England that I always had work, and even if the work was with somebody who wasn't very good, that gives me an opportunity to be a leader in the ring, even though I had no business being a leader in the ring. If you're put in a position where it's one of your first matches ever, and the other guy's not good. Even though you're super green, you still have to take control, and you gotta be able to communicate with the other guy and be able to tell him what you're trying to do and be able to do it quickly. So that's the baptism by fire sort of aspect. So it's twofold in that aspect, where I got to do that. Being a bigger guy, I was in a lot of squash matches earlier, so I had a lot of experience sort of taking control and being in the driver's seat for a lot of matches. now I'm getting the experience, working all sorts of, great talent and like higher quality caliber wrestlers. So it's definitely the best of both worlds. And so I'd say that combined with the fact that I started a little later than most guys, so both physically and mentally, I was a little more advanced than like an 18-year-old starting off per se, because I started when I was 25. Plus I had the football and basketball background, so I had athleticism going for me. Obviously I'm a taller guy, so that, opens doors a lot more quickly in the wrestling world. It gets you noticed a lot quicker. So it's definitely a combination of like all of those things. It's hard to say. That and just going into it with the right attitude. From football and basketball, I was always taught from a young age that you got to have a very strong work ethic, and not a lot of guys in pro wrestling do. A lot of guys feel like there's something owed to them, or that they don't have to, once they reach a particular a status, that they don't have to try as hard anymore. And that I've never felt that that's the case. To me, even if you're the best football or basketball player in the world, to maintain that status, you have to keep practicing. And for whatever reason, professional wrestlers feel like once they become really good that they don't have to practice anymore. And if you're not wrestling, every single weekend, then you got to be in the training center, practicing at least, in my opinion. But, different guys have different opinions. So